Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Finance Committee meeting of April 9th, 2026. And tonight's agenda will be that we've got some basic approvals and minutes of previous meetings, a small financial report from the manager, and some reserve transfer on some needed repairs. So with that, I'm going to go around the table and introduce each one of the members. I'll start off myself, Gene Budnick, and I'm chairman.
Jim Flynn.
Diana Bowley.
David Remington.
Kelly Barner.
Milind Kanitkar.
Vikram Chabra.
Victoria Pitney.
The first on our agenda is to approve the minutes of our last meeting. The only ones that were completed was March the 19th, 2026. Any questions, problems? If not, I'll have a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next on the agenda is going to be the town manager's report, and we're going to review and act on a reserve transfer.
Yeah, so we have a reserve fund transfer request for you this evening, committee members. Mr. Baldinger is going to give you a brief overview of what we need those funds for.
Sure.
Excuse me, I apologize first for not having you people introduce yourselves on there.
Kevin Mizikar, town manager.
Alexandria Martinez, Director of Budget and Financial Planning.
Keith Baldinger, Assistant Town Manager Operations.
Christina Ordong, Assistant Town Manager, Human Capital.
Thank you.
So the library, as many of you know, part of that building is a historic building, and it's HVAC for that building, for that section is a heat pump system. And over about the last year and a half, we've seen continued problems with the system. We had a consulting firm, engineering firm come in last year. One of the things they determined was the system was sized too small from its original installation. So we're gonna upgrade that system so it's larger, so it suits and fits the size of that area. The reason for this happening now at this time is the system actually failed about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So the replacement is needed quickly before we get into summer season to make sure the building stays cool and do that. So, and Public Buildings is working on this. They have quotes, specs out for quote, and hopefully we can get this done in the next few weeks and get it back up and running.
Questions from the committee? Yes, sir.
Just one question, Keith. You mentioned that it was too small for the property. Did it have anything to do with the library extension project?
So it was brand new when they put the addition, when they rebuilt the library, put the addition. And so this one system only services the historic part. The rest of the system in the whole building is fine, but it was undersized at that time when the library was renovated.
Additional questions? Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. I remember talking about this at budget hearings, and so was this an initial capital request, and now it will not be a capital request because it's going to be through the reserve fund?
So I believe you're right. I believe it was an initial capital request, but we do have some other HVAC capital requests that are happening.
Anybody else? I just have one question. Is it just the unit itself, or have we got to do ductwork?
It's just the unit.
Just the unit, okay. If there's no other questions, the motion to approve?
So moved. I'll second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? None? Okay. Sign that off. Next on our agenda is to open the public hearing. I have a motion to open.
I move the motion to open.
I have a second.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. We're gonna start off the agenda. We're gonna go down through several articles. They're not in order. The first article is gonna be Article 26. 27, 28, and 29 are all similar in nature. And we'll start off with 26. And we've got a presenter that's going to present.
Thank you, members of the committee. Christopher McGolbeck, Director of Planning and Economic Development, to speak to those articles this evening. So this first article, Article 26, is the regular annual transfer of funds and revenues. This follows the standard process and formula recommended by the Community Preservation Coalition of 10% as required to each of the specific 3 reserves, 5% for committee administrative expenses, and the remaining 65% to the budgeted reserve account. A little bit unique this year, we do have also a return of unspent funds from projects that have closed out and have remaining balances. So we're capturing those. They range from $28,500 to a whopping 24 cents, but all in totaling $33,560.37. So those will go back into their respective accounts, but we kind of lumped those for simplicity's sake in this breakdown that we see.
Questions from the committee? Yeah.
Just a quick question. I know in some previous years, I guess the way we had phrased it didn't specify exactly which account it came from. So I just want to ensure that we've got that phrasing correct as we move the money back to the correct accounts.
Yeah, so we do. So the articles do not specify the accounts, but the motions themselves did. So essentially, any of those returning funds will go to the accounts that they were originally allocated from.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Is there any questions?
Quick question.
Yeah.
What's the total amount that's in the fund now? It says revenues of 1.185 million. When do we end up with the total, or am I just missing it on this sheet?
No, so you, I believe what you're asking for is the total fund balance of all
Total
accounts.
fund balance. Yeah, I think that's very important to know.
Yes, so we're projecting to have a total fund balance at the end of the year of $3,709,766. Again, that is projected revenues, but
Okay. So we're getting to a point where they could actually propose a much larger, I know I've talked about housing, building housing for low-income housing, and if we get 3 million in there, it seems like we're getting now to a point where that could be something that could be brought up.
yeah, so just to be clear, so those, that figure is the total of all accounts.
Yep.
Some of those are designated out. Certainly the housing reserve has not had any projects out of it.
And what's the general reserve that we keep taking out of?
So we've been zeroing out essentially the specific reserves, so the housing and open,
Yep.
the open space and historic reserves. The undesignated reserve is any of those leftover funds that
Yep.
haven't been attributed to the 10%.
Which is million,
2.7 million.
2.7, so close to the $3 million I talked about. Great, thank you.
Is there any questions from the public? If not, we'll go on to Article 27.
This article is the Affordable Housing Trust proposal for a rental assistance program. It's in relation to an agreement that was developed between the Community Preservation Committee and the Affordable Housing Trust. So annually, the trust will request a slate of programs and a budget related to that. As this kind of first run through, in order to keep it simple, it's just a rental assistance program. In subsequent years, there is the intention to have additional programs that would be added into that, and it would be managed through the Affordable Housing Trust, but funds contributed through CPC for those specific slates. But in this case, the rental assistance program is looking at $112,500 from community preservation reserves, which is about 75% of the total project cost. estimated at $150,000. So the Affordable Housing Trust will use their funds to make up that balance of the 25%, which is $38,500. With that, we're anticipating being able to serve approximately 25 households with rental assistance. It would be a one-year pilot program to see how the program proceeds and is successful, and then adjust the program from there based on realities on the ground. So, other communities have run these rental assistance programs. It's substantially in line with those examples, and we're excited to be able to provide that opportunity to residents here in Shrewsbury, if approved.
Yes, Victor.
Thank you, Chair. Chris, just a question on the rental assistance program. How does that actually work? Is it 100% reimbursement of rent for eligible participants?
So it would be, the way it's structured is it would be $500 monthly, gets paid either to the landlord directly or to the landlord directly. So it'd be $500 a month for a one-year period for those 25 households. Depending upon how we finally structure it, there could be some wiggle room in there, whether you lower that amount for renters that may not need it. That could open up additional opportunities, but our general structure is $500.
One follow-up.
Yes, go for it.
What would the selection program be for, selection criteria be for the program?
Yeah, so the selection criteria, the process that it follows is we would be engaging in an RFP to select a third-party consultant that would ultimately manage the eligibility review. So they collect the applications, they review income documentation, and they would provide a list of eligible renters to the trust, who would finally approve that based on their program. But that third-party consultant does that eligibility work, going through the incomes and the documentation to ensure that they are indeed in need of that affordable housing and meet those criteria as the 80% area median income.
Any other questions? Yes, Dave.
So the trust has the money, the third party says these are the people that are eligible. Does the trust then have the town distribute the money
Correct.
to
yes.
the landlord or to the people?
Directly to the landlord, so
Okay.
it's directly for rent. And the way it's structured is the landlord can apply on the renter's behalf, or the renter can apply.
And if the money is sent right to the landlord, then there's no tax liability for the renter, correct? Even though it's in lieu of? In other words, they're getting a benefit from the town, but it's going to their landlord. So are they gonna have to pay a tax bill on that? We're gonna have to send them any sort of tax documentation on that?
I'll have to review that. I'm not sure off the top of my head if there's any tax implications. I do, the selected consultant, whoever the third-party consultant is, would probably manage any of the taxation documentation. We're primarily, they're kind of like a pass-through entity, but I'll
Right. I just think that people receiving the money should know that they owe $1,200 at the end of the year or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, Dennis.
What's going to be the approximate cost of having a third party run this program? And is that going to come out of the CPC, or is it going to come out of the town's budget?
So it would come out of the program budget. We haven't selected a consultant yet, but some of the programs that I'm familiar with, they typically provide, it's a one-time fee per eligible applicant. So if they review applications that are not eligible, there's no cost to the town. But when they do find eligible renters, they would send those in, and the town would pay that amount. It's usually a flat fee per.
How much per application then?
Again, it depends upon the consultant that's selected, but
Just a rough idea.
I believe it was $500 per for the program that I'm familiar with.
Okay, $500 per one that they push forward.
Correct.
And we expect to push how many forward?
25.
So, about 12,000.
One quick
Yes,
comment, Gene, thank you. Chris, during the budget hearings, the chair had raised an interesting comment about the complexity of people applying for tax abatement. So I'm just hoping that this process is much simpler, and we can reach the residents who deserve it in a simple way.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from the public? If not, we'll go to the next item, which will be Article 28.
Thank you. So this article is proposing a total of $650,000 split between the Recreation Reserve and the General Budget Reserve in order to place overhead lighting at the Maple Ave, also known as Foundation Fields facility. Substantially, this would allow for extending the hours that people could use those facilities. We would be engaging with outreach to residents and any permitting that's necessary for those utilities, but also outreach for abutting communities or neighborhoods to look at that. So we do see this as a substantial need for that area to improve the use of those fields.
Questions?
I actually think it's a good idea, but as we do it, who's paying the electric bill once those go in? Is it gonna be through the town budget? Are we gonna charge people for having night games? You know, that type of thing? Do we have an idea?
So there are some fees associated with those, the use of those fields through the Parks Department, whether or not that goes directly to utilities.
Well, will it be a higher fee because they're gonna use the lights?
I can jump in there. So currently, like for Dean Park and those fields, the user groups of those fields, they pay a fee for use of them, and that fee includes a percentage or a dollar amount for paying for the lighting during the times that they use them.
Okay, so it will be self-funded for the lighting. Great.
Any additional questions? Yes, sir.
Jean, thank you. So I think it's a good idea as well. I would just like a question, if you add up the numbers, it's about 640, 650K. So I was just wondering, like, how long is the expected lifetime of the system? Is it a long-term investment that we'll get value out of?
I believe so in the maintenance section of the budget estimate, it cites a warranty for 25 years. So these should go beyond that warranty of 25 years.
That's good. Thank you.
I just had one before I open up to the public. With the description of all the lighting, is it gonna be separate that you light the softball versus the lacrosse, general soccer? Because there's quite a spread in between those areas, and I would think, you know, we wouldn't wanna light up the whole park if we're only utilizing half of it. So I would think there should be some independent control, I would think would be a good idea.
Yes, I believe the design does include independent control of each of the lighting, and again, that would be also part of the outreach that we would have that discussion with the surrounding neighborhood as well.
Yes, sir.
So, I don't know how many games were played up there. Coaching both sports, there wasn't that many games played in Maple Fields comparatively. They played on the minis on the side a lot. We have lights on the high school fields, correct?
Correct.
Right. So couldn't we just have those few games in the high school and save ourselves 600,000? I mean, the high school only plays soccer one game a week, and it's probably not at night. The softball games up there are not at night, so we could have the town at night and save ourselves 600,000, right?
So, going a little bit out of my wheelhouse of expertise here, but you know, I think given the operational needs of the rec department, not only the location, the access to neighborhoods that otherwise would have to travel to the high school. There's substantial residential neighborhoods right there at the fields. that could use those, but also in terms of diversifying the utility of the fields. You know, I was there when there were some of the discussions of the fields, the high school fields being put in, and the usership rates when it's the actual grass versus turf, and how that gets used, and the amount of use that it gets does contribute to maintenance costs and lifespan of it. So providing additional opportunities at other fields should provide a benefit in terms of extending the life of all the facilities.
So
Yes, Dave?
I'm just gonna disagree with you. It's one game a week. Softball maybe has two. Soccer is one game a week. And to disable the residents around there, the teams are picked throughout the town. So my teams there was no local like I have the west side, you have the east side. I had kids spread out throughout the town evenly. So that's not gonna matter if they play, because we would be switching from Maplefield down by the new Beale, blah, blah, blah. So I just think that we have to, as a town, look as a town as whole. It's not school and soccer fields and municipal fields, it's all Shrewsbury fields. And this is a great example. If we could save ourselves $600,000 by playing one game a week, if that, night games. I don't think we even need night games except for makeup games during the week. So through the whole season, you only have a couple of night games and a couple of softball games, and you can't even play a tournament up there because the softball doesn't have the appropriate fencing and everything else. So we have to say, schools, town, play nice to each other and save some money. That's my feeling. I don't think it's any more than that. I don't think we need it.
Yes?
So Dave, I'm gonna jump in here because I do coach locally. Field time availability is currently an issue. I think this would really help. The high school does not allow anyone other than the high school team to
Exactly.
play during the high school season. So even if they only have 2 games a week and they're practicing right after school, nobody can be on it afterwards because they don't want anyone tearing it up. So I think increasing the availability of Maple, I think will be really helpful.
Yes?
As part of outreach, then, you know, if this goes through, right, I mean, it's a good idea to have this opportunity. I know, I agree with her about the availability of the fields is an issue. I know there are other kinds of sports that have been inquired about, but there have been like so many games have been played, they are always occupied year after year. So as part of outreach, are we going to reach out to these kind of groups to say like, hey, you know, now there are additional time slots potentially making available? And are we going to kind of, for lack of a better word, you know, like prioritize them because they have never been played there, right? Just as part of our efforts to, you know, get more games or more kind of sports played out there.
Yeah, so we haven't really formally structured the outreach yet, so it's really, we can make it however the community sees fit, and I think that's a great opportunity to engage in those, with those groups and those organizations that are using the fields to see, with those extended hours, what the usership would be.
Thanks.
I did have one question.
Yes?
I just want to clarify, I think I have it correctly. All of this is coming out of the CPC. The town's not putting up a big chunk of money for this as well.
That's correct.
So this won't affect the town's budget. It will just affect what could be done with CPC funds going forward.
That's correct.
Well,
Okay.
just one correction. The town will still have some expenses it'll incur to it, and then the operational costs will be the town.
Well, excuse me, Chair, I think I heard them say that for the electricity and that stuff, that comes, they're gonna charge the groups that use it, so they should be getting some operational funds in.
But it will not cover it completely.
Take a guess how much they'd spend?
I can't tell you on there, but the fee, I don't think the fees, the reports we've had, cover all the full expenses of the operational of the parks and fields themselves.
Well, we can certainly check with Recreation and the Parks Division.
Yeah, my point is, we're not taking
Yeah.
$200,000 out. And if we put those games at the high school, we're still gonna be spending, if we have those games at night at a field, we're still gonna be spending similar amount of money, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying which is a better one, I'm just
Yeah.
to be clear on, you
Yep.
know, where the money to build it's coming from.
Any other from the committee? If not, anything from the public? If not, we'll go on to Article 29.
So Article 29 is an article that's proposing 300,000, again, split between two accounts, the Historic Preservation Reserve and the General Budget Reserve, in order to complete and implement ADA accessibility and preservation work related to the District 5 schoolhouse at 2 Old Mill Road, providing better operational opportunities to that facility, which are not currently available due to the lack of those ADA facilities. This is building off of a feasibility study and other reports that have been done, work that has been completed, also with the benefit of CPC to study this, to develop that design, and this would be the actual implementation of that. So this is the next iteration of those efforts. I do know that representatives of the Historical Society are here this evening to answer any additional questions as well, but I'm happy to dive into that one.
Question. Diane?
So how much has been spent so far out of the CPC for this ADA accessibility for the schoolhouse?
For the implementation, you mean for the feasibility studies as well?
Just the total cost is, I guess, what I'm asking for. So how much have we done so far? Because I understand we need to assess and then plan, so I get that. I was just trying to gauge how much has been spent.
So the original, the feasibility study was 5,000 in FY '25, and there was a facility review related, that was $2,000 in '24. So $7,000.
Okay. Just a quick follow-up. Is this like, this is the project, or is this like phase one of, a larger project that needs to happen?
So this is substantially the bulk of the project. So this is what's the work that's identified from those studies. I don't want to preclude future work or future analysis of additional preservation efforts if they're identified, but this is the substantial amount of what was identified by those reports.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Tim?
Could we get a little more clarity of what actually is going to be done? 'Cause it's a big number, but, public accessibility, remediation and all that, what are they, do you have to put a whole new frame in? Are they shoring up things? Is it?
I can touch on a little bit of that too, and also members of the Historical Society are here too. But it is some structural rehabilitation to the building, the roof, among other things. Making it ADA accessible, doorway openings, generally preserving the entire building, and then allowing for ADA accessible walking path and stairs, or ramp, I should say, to and around the building.
So pretty much substantial and almost basically rehabbing the whole building.
Correct.
It sounds like you have to touch every part of the building, so it's almost like building a new one.
I think it's almost a couple hundred years old, so it needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. So I had two questions. One is probably for the Historical Society. What are the, would this basically increase the ability for residents and visitors to visit the site, and what is the timings and all that sort of stuff? Is it going to have some staff over there that will educate people and maintain it, or ongoing? What's that plan?
Yeah, so I know the facility currently is not open to the public, mainly due to the lack of ADA accessibility, which prohibits them from opening it to the public. So this would allow now that programming to take place. In terms of staffing or any of that would be within the Historical Society's purview to respond if that is part of their programming for this. But.
Second question I had is, who's going to pay for the maintenance of the building going forward? Does that come out of our building fund, a building committee, or a department, building department, or how do we maintain it?
Property's owned by the Historical Society, it's not owned by the town.
Okay.
Any other, yes?
And I probably should know this because I've been to a few historical society presentations over the years, but is there a fee or at least a donation box for this? How does the historical society get their budget? So I don't know if there's someone there from the historical society that can speak to it.
I think it's through memberships and donations to the Historical Society.
Okay.
Before I open to the public, just one quick. The schoolhouse is elevated up. Where is the parking and this accessibility going to be? Which side, looking at it from the front?
So there is that gravel portion at the front of it. So that obviously it would not be just that gravel portion, but that location is existing.
From the
Parking.
front of the building itself
To the right.
towards the cemetery?
Yes. Towards
And there's no parking there either.
that's part of this project.
It's part of the project?
Yep.
Okay. There's no other questions? Anything from the public? Yes. Would you just introduce yourself and,
Would it be more appropriate to go to?
no, you can sit right there, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Christine Gustafson from the Shrewsbury Historical Society. Thank you to Mr. McGoldrick. Thank you to town management. Thank you to Mr. Baldinger for addressing some of these questions. I may be able to answer some of the ones that you've also brought up. The Shrewsbury Historical Society has been around since 1898, and we have as our mission to take care of any properties that come underneath our control. So we are very good stewards at the 1830 schoolhouse, which is in the historic district at the Common. And we also have ownership of the 1828 schoolhouse on the corner of Old Mill Road, which is the subject of the CPA request. We've had 3 phases of CPA support for it. The first was the feasibility study, that was phase 1. And we got all of the information we needed about what needs to be done to be ADA compliant, which is the reason that we cannot be open to the public per request of the town. We had phase 2, which was a feasibility study by Lamero Pagano Architects. They took everything from the ADA report and came up with an architectural solution for that. So that's phase 2. And we did have CBA support for that. We also had Mass Cultural Council grant support, and we also had significant funding from the Historical Society. All of that combined to pay for the feasibility study. So this is phase 3. And this will again have our fundraising efforts. We also have been deemed eligible for significant funding from the Mass Cultural Council to support our request from CPA Historic Preservation Funds. And the way that we're viewing this now is that this would be our final effort for the next generation and the generation to come. So it's addressing the building in its totality, including parking and other accommodations. When Lamero did their report, they went to, because it's a National Historic Register listed property, they went to the Mass Historical Commission They went to the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, and they have no additional restrictions according to the feasibility study for completing this work. In other words, the work will be compliant with what's expected. There are, in the documentation we submitted to CPA, the scope of work includes 4 different exterior accessibility improvements, 4 different interior accessibility improvements, 4 different structural remediations, and 4 different historic preservation measures to address every possible weakness structurally and architecturally to make this building, that's an important historical cultural resource, available to all of the public. And that is our goal. When it was open in the past, we would have students from the schools come with their teachers. They would have volunteers from the society there to conduct lessons. We would have period school books there for the students, much like if you visited Sturbridge Village. This schoolroom is 1828, so it's about the same time period. It is one of the oldest surviving one-room schoolhouses in the state. We do not have a paid staff. All of the work at the number 5 is all done by volunteers. And moving forward, over the past 50 years since we've owned the building, because it was facing demolition, we've assumed all maintenance of the building, including replacement roof, replacement windows, debris removal, lawn maintenance, replacing the furnishings inside the building with period-appropriate furnishings, replastering walls, security systems, everything that's been involved with maintaining that building during that time. In the past, we were also open for Spirit of Shrewsbury events. We would plan to have many events for the public to be held there, not just for the 300th, but continuing throughout the future at the number 5. And our application has many incredible pieces of documentation with the old photographs from the society, with showing how the building has been used in the past. And we feel that it's our legacy to preserve this building for the future as something that would be an important part of our community. I don't know if I've answered each of the questions that I heard previously, but the parking is going to be expanded on the site. The site has been continuously adapted as highway needs have taken more of the property. So we will be making an adjustment according to the suggestions from Lamoureux and increasing the site to have what they have as their considerations for appropriate drop-off and parking for handicap spots, for a van, for single vehicles. It also includes an embankment onto Old Mill for safety reasons, so that that's preserved. And there's also, because of all of the new improvements to traffic made at that intersection, there are crosswalks, there are signal lights there, so that there's also an option to park, for example, across the street and walk across the street. Our understanding as a society and our commitment over the years that we've owned it, the past 50 years, is that it will not be open to the public unless we have a police presence with a special off-duty police officer there that we have paid for to conduct traffic and to make sure that any pedestrians walking to the building can cross the street safely. We do understand that it's a very busy intersection, and we have never in the past been open without a police presence, and we plan to continue that policy. And our budget every year includes, including this next upcoming year, the funds necessary for all maintenance for this building. Obviously, when we have work of this particular scope, it's not something we can budget for. Our donations to the society from members are $10 a year in dues, and that includes a newsletter with postage and electronically. And we also accept donations towards special projects that we're doing. But our number one goal right now is to pursue any and all opportunities for making this project come to fruition, so that all the investments that have taken place so far can be put to good use for the public.
Thank you. Any other, yes, Dave?
Just quickly, could you, if possible, break down how much is going to the ADA compliance, how much is to the structure, and how much is to the preservation?
You can speak right from the grant or from here.
Yep, so the breakdown, the building and architectural construction, is the 180,000. Site work, including landscaping, was estimated at 260,000. Professional services and miscellaneous soft costs is 55,000. The ADA is primarily the site work and landscaping, although some of that is captured. There is the doorway that I know has to be adjusted as well as part of the building and architectural. So the budget doesn't split it that way, but that's about.
Okay.
The site does have significant needs because of the grade. So the walkways have to meet the contour and the rise and run specifications for ADA ramps and ramp systems, with the length that they need for traversing and the safety considerations that they need for that, and then the entranceway needs for that. So the site has to go hand in hand with the building. And all of those accommodations have been approved by the Architectural Board and by Historical Commission, and we further have support letters in our application from the Shrewsbury Historic Commission, from the Commission of Disabilities from Shrewsbury, and from Shrewsbury's 300th Anniversary Committee. So they have all endorsed this project and are hopeful that it would move forward.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, ma'am, for that great description, and thank you for the Shrewsbury Historical Society and the great work that you're doing. I had two questions. I think the first one you mentioned it, but I missed it. How many properties did you say you owned in town?
We own one,
One.
and that's this particular school building.
Okay.
We have a long-term lease on the 1830 brick school at the Common. So the town has ownership of that building. We are responsible for the maintenance of that building. So for example, many thousands of dollars went into replacing the windows in the 1830 recently. That was our cost. $20,000 last year went into painting that building. That was our cost. So we have been good stewards. CPA has also been helpful to us with that building. The CPA funded the heat pump installation system, and that was a $65,000 investment at the 1830. The town recently paid for lightning rod installations. That was $8,000 that went towards it. So in partnership with the town, we try to be very good stewards.
Thank you. The second question I had was, as far as this project is concerned, given that it's a historical building, has the budget sort of incorporated any expertise needed to maintain the historical character of the architecture, like maintaining the period level implementations or whatever they did in those days?
I really appreciate that question, because that reflects the genuine concern that you have for the historic nature of the building, so thank you so much. Lamero Pagano would be our dream architect for this project, and it's primarily because of the focus and the attention and the expertise they have on historic preservation. And they have a historical consultant who is involved in this project. His name is Mr. Para. The architect, who is the prime architect on the project, also has extensive historical expertise, and all of this has been, any project that CPA does for historic preservation has to meet the Secretary of the Interior's standards. That's who issues the National Historic Register guidelines. So all of this work would meet those standards for historic expectations too.
Thank you.
If there's no additional questions, I'll open it up to the public, but I don't think we have anybody in the public, so we thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
There's no other questions, we'll go on to Article 30, zoning bylaw amendment.
Thank you. Article 30 is an article proposing essentially two amendments to, one to the newly revised ADU section, and to remove a reference to summer houses in the zoning bylaw. So summer houses is a reference that exists only in the use regulation table, does not have a specific definition, and we find it to be largely outdated, especially given the ADU provisions that are now in place due to the legislation that's been passed. It has created some confusion with people who are pursuing ADUs and trying to understand if summer houses would apply to them. So we're proposing to remove that reference, remove that confusion, and that outdated reference. The second change that would be done is the accessory dwelling unit section, which would add in language that's responsive to the Attorney General's recommendations. So as part of that legislation that was approved at town meeting for the new accessory dwelling unit section, the Attorney's General Office reviewed that. They provided comments back for amendments to that, as well as recommendations to us to review with town council how the language could be improved, and this is responsive to that. So substantively what it does is it just clarifies that the only instance in which accessory dwelling units would be allowed in the front yard is if it constitutes an outright prohibition of ADUs. It does not allow additional relief in terms of setbacks, lot coverage, any of the other lot and bulk requirements. The applicant would essentially have to prove that it is a prohibition of an ADU, that there's no other location for them to place it on the property.
Questions, yes, sir.
So if I put an ADU in the back, and by doing so, a second ADU cannot fit there, then I'm allowed to put one in front.
So the second ADU is a special case, so that would require a special permit, which is fully discretionary.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Similar, David's question, if there's not enough room in the back, but there is enough room to attach it to the house, or put it over a garage or whatever, would that have to be used before putting it in the front?
Correct, they would have to explore all options.
All options.
It has to be an outright prohibition of the ADU, which the board can't do per that legislation. So that was the concern raised by the AGUs. They are considered protected use ADUs, which invokes the Dover Amendment, and so the board has to allow them to create an ADU, but the lot and bulk and coverage of that, where that ADU goes, is still the purview of the board.
Yes, Dave.
So, I'm sorry, Chris. So, in a dwelling unit in a detached building, but you're saying if I can attach it, I must before I detach it.
Depending upon the lot. So a good example of where this may come into account would be on a corner lot where you substantively don't have a rear yard, and so you would have to locate some portion of the ADU in the front yard. So if you're on a corner lot and you have no backyard or side yard, you would have to, and you're prohibited from creating an ADU otherwise, then the board would have to allow you to place some portion of that in the front yard.
So to Dennis's question then, only if I can't attach it to my home, nor in the back, nor in the side money put up front.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, we don't have any control over it at all. I mean, they could take, if we denied them, they'd just take it to the state and they would overrule us.
So if they prove that there was no, and I think that would be something that on an appeal we would argue, so the board would have to have been given sufficient information that there is physically no way to locate, the ADU on the property, and then also deny it. Again, it's a very rare instance, and that's how the regulations are currently written. This just emphasizes that amount of the prohibition of the ADU to, avoid that potential litigation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any additional questions? I don't see anybody in the public, so I guess we can continue on to 31. Article 31, special legislation.
So this article is asking town meeting to authorize us to petition the general court for special legislation to modernize how we handle advertising. Currently under state law, for when we publish bids or RFPs or legal notices or any other notice for that matter, in almost all cases, we're required to have it printed in a newspaper. So this is going to change that. So we already post all of our opportunities online in some fashion. So if there's an RFP or a bid request out, it goes on our website, it goes to a couple of state websites, and that is how most vendors find them. They don't really find them in the newspaper anymore. We also post public hearings and legal notices in newspapers too. And that's not something we would necessarily stop doing. This is more for the procurement side of our advertising. We spend roughly $20,000 a year on newspaper ad publishing. And we're not going to save $20,000 by doing this, but we'll certainly be able to reduce our cost. One of the largest expenses is through the procurement process, advertising. So then again, and so this will make our digital, our website, the actual legal notification area, as opposed to a newspaper. And so this is really just modernizing everything and we already put all the information in all of these places. It just changes it from being the newspaper is the legal area where it has to be posted to our website being the legal area where it has to be posted.
Question?
Quick question. If that becomes the website becomes a legal place, why would we still advertise in newspapers? Why not save all that money?
Because there are cases, especially for public hearings or in some legal notices, that we would still want to have it published in a newspaper just to reach as many people as possible.
But is it required?
It is required.
Okay.
Right now. Yep.
But how much will not be required to go to the newspaper of what we usually do in a year?
Well, so it goes from being required by state law to being a policy decision. So
Okay.
there are many areas that we would still post in the newspaper for notification to residents or businesses. And then there's other areas that, especially in the procurement area, where vendors aren't looking in the newspaper to find out if they can bid on a road project for the community. They're utilizing the digital postings that we already do with the state, or they have a third-party vendor that's finding them for them anyways. So it's somewhat of a waste it's a wasted cost or a wasted expense for us to do it in those areas.
So savings when we do this, 5,000.
I would say probably a minimum
Okay.
of $5,000.
So something worthwhile.
So one quick question. So does it mean that, we anticipate some kind of digitization upgrade, with CRM software? Like, how do I know, let's say I'm a vendor, I will need to subscribe to certain part of it so that I will know that town has posted something new, right? So does that need any upgradation?
So through our website, we do offer sign-up availability for notifications for bid postings, but also typically like for a contractor or somebody that has goods and services, they monitor the state websites where we are still required to post all of those items. And those are free services, they're no cost. Some vendors subscribe to third-party subscriptions where that third party looks for those bids and RFPs for that company. So that's a cost of choice to those vendors as opposed to, but there's still many areas that they can find it for free.
So we do not anticipate any upgrade
No.
required for our, okay, thank you.
Victor?
So is this petition just on behalf of Shrewsbury, or do we have the support of other towns as well?
Just for Shrewsbury. There are a few towns currently that have this, have had this in their town meeting this year. But yeah, this will be specifically for Shrewsbury.
Yes, Kelly?
Which newspapers are we currently running, whether it's warrants or public hearings or the procurement side?
Community Advocate is where almost all of our advertisements go now currently.
Okay. And not that it's necessarily the town's concern to ensure that the community advocate operates profitably, but should this warrant go through, will there be a conversation just so that, we as town members don't, I don't have a sense of what percentage of their annual revenue is this kind of town ad?
Yep, and I think that conversation's happened.
Okay.
Yes, Diane?
So I know it's not just in my experience, like we had to bring something before the Conservation Commission for a reason. We were charged $70, I think, in order to have the thing that we had to bring in front of the Conservation Commission. So I'm just curious to see if you guys have thought through if this becomes that, then residents who have to pay that fee no longer have to pay that fee.
So we haven't dived into that fee structure yet, but it is something we'll look at.
Okay.
I just had one quick follow-up on posting of meetings. Who will be the deciding factor there, which meetings are posted?
I don't understand.
For instance,
all meetings have to be posted.
They will continue to be posted in the paper.
We are,
The Planning Board, Board of Appeals, Select Board.
well, that's the policy decision that we have to work
okay.
through to decide which ones still get posted in
Yeah,
the paper
okay.
and which ones don't.
So I guess following up on Jean's question,
Yeah.
so that would be a policy decision set by the Select Board? Okay.
No other questions? We'll go on to the next article, which is Article 32. Special legislation. Good evening.
Good evening,
Like-
Ricky Anderson, your principal assessor. So that's a very brief summary. So this petition is to ask the legislature for permission to change our income and asset limits for our statutory exemptions that benefit the elderly. The only ones that we offer that have income and assets are a clause 17, which is usually for widows and widowers. Most of those people are still working in some capacity, so it has an asset determination. And our clause 41 is for people that are mostly retired, living off of their savings, and that one has an income and an asset requirement. So the state requires that every community in Massachusetts offer these. They're set by statute. So, like so many other things, there's often a local option where the state says you have to do X, but if you want, you can also do Y, which is then accepted at town meeting. We have done that. We've accepted all of the local options that are available to increase the size of the program and how many people we can reach. So this is just asking the legislature to let us increase the income and asset limits to a point where they would have been if we had accepted one of the local options that we've recently accepted back in 2010. The goal is to reach more people.
Questions, yeah? Ollie?
So one curious question. Do we know how many number of families will benefit?
It's impossible to tell, only because we don't. Once somebody tries to apply for it and they don't get it because their income or their assets are over the limits, we don't track if they try again the next year. So there's no way for us to know. And the reason that we are choosing to try to go back to the 20, if we had accepted this local option in 2010, is to bump it up enough to get more people in without opening the floodgates and having our income and asset limits be such that so many people that would apply that they'd overwhelm the staff in the office and the funds that are available in the overlay account.
Can I ask a
Yes.
follow-up?
Yeah.
Let me ask you other way, right? How many families are currently getting benefited or approved, and what's your target? Like, are you trying to double the number, or like what's your target that you're trying to reach?
So to be honest, I don't have a target.
Okay.
It's more of a blanket more people. There's no way to know. Because it's income and asset based, that's not public, we don't know where people are financially. So there's no way that we can, we're not gonna poll somebody and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've thought about it to try to figure out how we could figure out what the impact is gonna be. If I were to guess, and this is strictly a guess, nobody can hold it, I would say maybe 20 more people, maybe 20 more households. To me, that would be great. If we can help 10 more people or 5 more people, to me, that's a win for the whole program.
Okay.
Right now, we help about, with all of our exemptions, we've granted about 275. That includes the veterans, though. The veterans are a big group.
So maybe can I assume like you're targeting 300?
Sure, 300 would be great.
I'm just trying to get it. Like, how would we know? Like, if you're just, shooting in the dark, like, I understand you wouldn't know that, right? But what would be the number that will help us satisfy? Like, did
If we
it work
can
or
increase
not?
by, let's say, if we can increase by 10 a year,
Yep.
that would be fantastic to be able to help that many more people.
Okay. Thank you.
Victor, you were.
Yes,
And then David?
thank you, Ruth. I was just wondering, like, that I think you did talk a little bit with Millen, but how did you come up with the salary numbers? Was it based on some recommendations from the state and wouldn't there be models there to tell what salary level it should be based on our region and our town?
Right, so as I said earlier, in the statute, it says that everybody has to do X.
Mm-hmm.
So the income and asset limit set by statute, set in the statute is what everybody has to do.
Okay.
Those are really low, like $20,000 annual income. So Shrewsbury has accepted the local option to add a COLA increase, which is also set by the state every year. So you start at 20, you get a COLA of 2% for the next year. That becomes your new base. The next COLA is 4.5%, and that becomes your new base. So it goes forward that way.
I see.
So this will just be as if we had accepted that local option to add the COLA in 2010 rather than in 2022.
I understand.
Mm.
Thank you.
David?
Yeah, so every year it automatically increases by the consumer price index. And is that published somewhere, like it's this year, next year it will be that, like they do for Social Security and everything? So if I miss it 1 year, but I'll be eligible in 2 years with the CPI increases because we had 6 or 8% inflation rate, is that going to be published like they do for Social Security and other plans, so I know ahead of time, like, of my income?
No, those are set and distributed annually by the Department of Revenue, usually in
the summer, late spring. So I would expect to be getting that information from the DOR probably by the end of May for fiscal '27.
Okay.
But I have no idea what it's going to be beyond that.
I'm sorry, what I meant was as they come out, do you continuously publish them? It's probably a better way.
As far as publish, put it on the website,
Yeah.
I do not, but I do have that information available. And we adjust our income and asset limits annually based on that,
Okay.
but I don't send out an announcement as to what it is.
Just a quick question. Have other communities done something like this? I'm just trying to guess at whether it'll be successful.
No, we're the first.
Okay. Have you had any conversations with, I don't know the right body that would need to approve this?
So I initially had a conversation with Mr. Mizikar, and then he and I brought it to the select board, and we've had conversations with town council and Rep. Kane and her staff. They're all fully on board, if it passes town meeting, to bring it forward to the legislature. You never know what they're gonna do. So, I mean, to me, it's worth a shot.
Thank you.
So this is basically all pending on state approval after we vote on it.
One more question, Gene. Is this just property tax or also debt exclusion that we pay for in our tax bill?
I don't,
Both, yeah.
Both.
It'd be off the bottom line of the tax bill.
Oh,
the
Okay.
yes.
amount.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, yep.
Okay, thank you.
One quick,
You got a question there?
Yeah, just, and this is an odd question, but does this apply to corporations as well? Only people?
Only people.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Stan?
what, I think you talked about this earlier, but, in the previous meeting, how much is the current program giving back to, in
How much are we distributing?
distributing?
This is really small. So for fiscal '25, we abated a total of $307,684. That includes the veterans and people that are legally blind. So I don't have it broken out by just what this program, like the seniors would do.
Is there like an average per household?
So one of the things that Shrewsbury did accept in fiscal '22 is an increase in the amount of the credit, which is also a local option like I talked about earlier. Like I said, the state says you have to do X, but if you want to, you can do Y. So one of the things that Shrewsbury accepted was to increase the amount of the credit from the $1,000 that's required by statute to up to double that.
Okay.
The caveat is you can't pay less this year than you paid last year. So I have a spreadsheet that's, 47 things long that has each fiscal year in it and calculates their last year net with what they got and this year, so that everybody gets at least the minimum of the 1,000 and they can go up to 2,000. So honestly, the exemption amounts could be $1,647.08 kind of thing. So it varies by year.
So if you got 20 more people, we're not talking about it's $20,000 to $30,000 most likely.
Correct.
Okay, just trying to get an idea of, since we're doing something kind of open-ended, don't know what it could be, like to know ahead of time what we could end up facing.
So if we got 20 more people at the maximum, it would add, I think, a penny to the tax rate, like to the levy.
No other questions? We thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We don't
for your
have
time.
anybody in the public, so we'll continue to the next article, which will be Article 35. That'll be the Route 20 easement.
So Article 35 is related to the Route 20 widening project that's going to be under construction in 2027. The town owns 3 properties along that right-of-way. that the state, and the state is asking for easements, both permanent and temporary for construction, to complete the project. So this would be, requiring town meeting approval for that, to get those easements to get turned over to the state.
Questions from the committee?
Question?
Yes.
Are we gonna receive any revenue, for turning it over, or is it just a benefit that we get the roads
Benefit
graded?
of the roadway.
I just had one follow-up. Isn't there a big culvert there, almost a bridge-type unit? Is that gonna be reconstructed?
They spoke of one in a construction meeting, and I don't recall where it is along the route, but I know there's a culvert on Walnut Street that they're asking the state to take care of. I believe there's another culvert further up closer to South Street.
I happened to watch the hearing, there was something about gating and fencing into the culvert. I guess it was quite large, the way they were describing it.
It could be related. There's a large wetland on one side.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely some stormwater work. They're putting a shared use path on one side, so
Yeah.
I'm sure that's gonna create some sort of a slope that will have to be fenced.
I'm sure they'll take care of it for us.
I'm sure.
Okay, there's, yes.
And is there any discussion around, like, I know Emerald Run is going around there, right? So is that something also part of this? Like, I mean, from the bridge that you were talking about, or the wetland, it's right there where the South Street kind of splits,
Are
you know, on that
are you-
right on Route 20?
Are you thinking of something different where, where Pulte gave us a piece of property to connect
Yeah.
South Street to Green Street?
No, on that intersection, I mean, before the other side of the South Street goes to Alhambra, you know,
Yep.
so that's the split I'm talking about. There is the Emerald Run wetland, right?
It's
Right.
I
down
don't know whether
further,
that's where the bridge that you're talking
yeah,
about.
it's down further, I believe,
I
yeah.
think you're right. I think it's further.
It's down
closer to the
further
road.
down, that's where I remember.
Sorry,
Yes.
not to this, but the overall project, I know that I remember a couple years ago in the public hearing or whenever it was, right, there is residents along there that the state would maybe need to take some land from. Is that all
Yeah, they're
progressing and,
They're taking land, or taking.
sorry, I'm saying it in the wrong way, but.
Yes, so they have easements and land takings that they're working with private landowners on, and they
Okay.
have been for the past 6 months or so.
Okay.
Many of them.
No further questions, we'll go to Article 36. This is funds the town in reference to the 300th celebration anniversary
It
expenses.
was a good run since you didn't have to hear from me so far. So this is a $100,000 request that we would utilize throughout the year-long celebration of the 300th birthday of the community. And this would cover things like police details, custodial and parks and grounds employees, and other miscellaneous costs to prevent the celebratory committee from having to raise those funds. So it'd be costs internal to the town to support their operations.
Questions from the committee? Just have one additional, they've already got 70,000 up front,
Correct.
so,
Yeah. So, yeah, 70,000 for their use in the activities.
Yep.
That's right.
now some of that could be some money-making propositions in there along the celebration, and money will be turned back to the town at the end if there's
Correct.
anything available. Questions from the committee? Yes, Dennis?
So this would bring the total up to 170, is that what we're saying? Or,
This is a little bit separate because the 70 to 300th committee can use and determine
Do
how.
what they
but
want.
that came from the town.
Yes.
So the total spent is 170. We are gonna get a giant cake for this, right?
What you're requesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
Yeah.
so what's the, I guess, I'm trying to understand like why we need to move this money to the committee to then pay back to the town staff?
Because just budgeting mechanisms, we'll be able to have it in an account and use it for, and not hit the police budget, because we don't budget for details in there. This would be on the normal overtime that we would budget for, most staff, and that's the cost that it will cover.
Okay, so you've already kind of worked with the committee, and this is the current estimate for all of those types of things, or?
Yeah, it's our best estimate at this time, yep.
There being none, we'll move on to the next article, which is Article 37.
So Article 37 is associated with establishing the new emergency medical services program. The general laws in Massachusetts under Chapter 41 have certain provisions for police and firefighters if they're injured on duty. Their out-of-pocket, their medical expenses in their entirety and their wages are covered in a different program, which is not workers' compensation. It's much more rich. It covers more of the cost for their injuries and medical care. So that's called Chapter 41, Section 111F. Section 111M and N provide those provisions for emergency medical services personnel, or EMS. So we're seeking to accept those local options, provide those services to the paramedics and EMTs that we'll hire to run our ambulance service.
Questions? Yes, David?
So this only covers the town employees?
Correct.
Okay. And is it so much per employee? Or is it a flat rate?
Well, we'll pay for it as a flat rate as part of our premium, which will be about $4,000 additional a year, but the out-of-pocket expenses depend on the injury and the time off, again, on the injury. So it would cover their wages, they could, if it was a bad injury, they could be out for several months or longer, and then whatever the medical expenses are associated with that injury.
So because all of the paramedics that we're hiring are also firefighters, the only time this would click in is if they're only a paramedic and not a firefighter.
That is correct.
So the people we're hiring right now, they're already gonna be covered in the firefighter part.
Our intention is to hire firefighter paramedics. However, when we access the marketplace and post positions, we may need to hire single role paramedics at the outset at least, until we get sufficient staffing, but our intention is to hire that dual role. So you are correct, if they are a firefighter, they'd fall, firefighter or paramedic, they'd fall to 111F.
Perfect, thank you.
Additional questions? Yes.
The increase in the premium you mentioned, is that already, this is because this is my first hearing on town meeting articles, but this doesn't say that we appropriate the funds. This is just saying that we're accepting the provisions. So is the $4,000 increase already factored into our estimates for insurance and
Yeah,
everything
in our
for the year?
general insurance line item under the shared operating support of the operating budget.
Okay. So this is just saying like we're gonna cover this.
This will allow us to cover it.
Cool.
Yes.
Just a general question. How many paramedics do we have presently?
We have 2 paramedics on the fire department staff right
And we'd look for another 2 to 4?
now. 8.
8.
You need 8 to manage 24/7 operations.
So a paramedic has to be on duty each shift. One has to be available.
That's the plan, yes. Yeah, to run what they call a hybrid truck, which is a paramedic and then an EMT. If possible, 2 paramedics, but, paramedic EMT is the
Because most cities and towns don't always have their ambulance staffed that way.
Correct.
They have to call in a paramedic
correct.
from a surrounding area or from within the fleet itself.
In the beginning, we may have to do that with the city of Worcester, because we'll only be running a basic life support truck, and they'll be running advanced life support, but it is our goal to hire paramedics.
Usually a dispatcher has to determine what the urgency is. Oh, okay. There's no other questions. We'll go to Article 5. which is gonna be the FY '27 operational budget and general funds. Let me go back to Article 5, it's on page 6.
So, Mr. Chairman, this of course is the operating budget that we discussed so detailed in your hearings. But I want to start with one matter that is a change based upon updated information and recommendations that we received from our auditor. So when we originally brought you the budget for the EMS portion, we were planning to embed it within the fire department itself. But our auditor is recommending that we establish a new departmental budget, which would be Department 230, Emergency Medical Services. And that will allow us to further break out the costs and show more detail. So it'll be a 1, 2, 3 for personnel and a 4, 5, 6, and then a 9 as far as the account structure that you're familiar with. So the biggest change with this is that we are actually going to be requesting less money for fiscal year 27 in free cash. So a little over 762,000 versus $1 million. But we're going to have to come back and ask for additional money for fiscal year 28 because we won't be able to carry funds forward. So we never planned on spending the whole $1 million. We planned on rolling some forward after we see how much revenue that we earned. But taking this approach, we're going to request less funding now and additional funding in the future. It will exceed $1 million in total. That was always the plan as we rolled into the program, but we're making the changes. It gives me an opportunity to talk to you a little bit more about the details of the budget, and we did drop this into your drive, and we have it up on the screen. So what we're requesting funding for FY '27 in this budget is an EMS coordinator position, which is a staff level position for the full year, starting July 1. And then 8 firefighter paramedics for 6 months of the year. That will allow us to get people on board around January 1st, provide training, and then commence operations before the end of February. So that's the plan that we're on. So we've covered those expenses for those 9 associated positions, some of them halfway through the year, and then the overtime that we believe that would be necessary to make sure we can operate 24/7. So total wages are about $620,000, a little over. And then we've broken out the expenses associated with it. So getting all the portable radios, which the EMS staff would, have on their body, some minor repair and maintenance to vehicles, medical equipment acquisition, turnout gear, since they are firefighter paramedics that we're planning to hire, would be 1 set of turnout gear for the 8 firefighter paramedics. And then some miscellaneous costs. So that includes medical billing and office supplies, clothing allowance, and licensure of the ambulance through the state. So in total, we'd be requesting $762,637 in this budget. So it's creating that new department. I'm sorry we didn't bring this to you in the budget hearings this way, but after the auditor kind of took a look at everything and reviewed our anticipated revenues and our revenue account structure that we should use, this was their recommendation. On the right side of the screen up there, you'll see that we've provided an estimated annual total cost, and right now that'd be a little over $1.3 million. And because some of the costs that we had to build in for the 6-month period were actually annual costs, like the licensure of the ambulance and things like that.
I just add just 2 comments before I open it up. Number 1, it was kind of an interesting new title, the town auditor. And I couldn't quite put an auditor's figure in all the memory I've had of this committee on there.
Yep.
That I think it should be noted, it's an outside concern, the auditor
Yep.
is
Yep.
themselves.
It's a hired entity.
And I think the other thing you should be mentioning on this whole development with the EMTs and things is that eventually this is going to be a moneymaker for the town. it will take a while, but eventually we'll be able to build enough to cover all these expenses. And most cities and towns do make money
Absolutely.
uh,
Yep.
from the ambulance service itself. So I just think that is a key to the public, that you've got to spend this money up front now, but maybe in a year and a half, 2 years, we'll be billing enough to cover all these expenses, because the rates are very high that the insurance companies do pay for the ambulance services throughout the whole Commonwealth on there, so.
Yeah, that likely will occur, you know, when we would be able to take over full operations from UMass and run an advanced life support ambulance. Correct. But I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Questions from McCurdy? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Kevin, I had a question. Does the creation of this new department as a result of the town audit, does it create a delta that could be used to fund other departmental gaps that we had during the budget, or is that going to be money you're going to appropriate later, and that's how it's going to be done?
So we're still using free cash as the revenue source, which is a one-time revenue, not recurring, so I wouldn't recommend. So it doesn't really open up that funding for other recurring costs.
Yes, Dave?
So I understand the funding source is different for accounting purposes, but do they still fall under the fire chief for chain of command? Okay, so it's still under the fire chief, just that all the receipts and all that stuff is pushed off to a different account, make it easier for money coming in and out and debts and all that. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And just one more.
Yes.
So our overall budget you're requesting was the same as fiscal one, the first projection, but this went down, so other places went up?
No,
So the
No, it's-
overall amount of money you're
Overall
asking?
budget is a reduction of the
Okay,
difference.
is that
in-
different from what you sent? Is that different from what you sent us?
No, so the total operating budget as proposed now is 169,583,000. Fiscal projection one was 169,821,000.
Okay, because I thought in the letter we got, maybe I have an earlier one, it said that our overall budget would be, I thought that was the same. We can get that when we get to it. It just seemed like it was the
Are you
same.
look in the finance committee report?
Yeah.
section?
Correct. Did that change?
So on the first page, the last paragraph,
Okay,
so the operating budget of 169,583. So that is the reduction from fiscal projection one.
okay. Thank you.
So, no other proposed changes to the budget from your hearing process. We're still recommending, the same revenue model, same revenue levels, same recommendation for municipal, debt service, shared operating support, and the school budget, with a 4.25% increase year over year.
Gina, I just had one comment. This article doesn't include state aid, or is it hidden somewhere?
So state aid shows up in the motion as taxation.
Okay.
So it's part of that large number. So if you remember, like the base tax levy, including debt, is about 115 million, and we're showing 165 million or so in taxation. So taxation in this motion includes our tax levy, local receipts, and state aid.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are state aid numbers finalized? Are we still, okay.
So they really won't be finalized until July 1st, ideally, but probably sometime in the month of July, once they're through the legislature entirely. We do expect to see the House's recommendation before town meeting. We likely won't see the Senate, so then there'd be the reconciliation process after that. So we'll get a good update before the end of the month, but we normally don't make any changes once we're this late in the process.
Additional questions? Yes.
So, Kevin, you talked about school recommendation, you are recommending 4.25. So I know the presentation that we heard from school committee was, in lieu of 4.75. So can you highlight the adjustments that the school committee did, to go through your recommendation?
I don't know that they have. I don't think that they have adjusted their budget to cope with that. I think that will come up at their meeting next Wednesday. They'll have that discussion. I'm not saying that they're going to feel that they should do that, but that they haven't voted to change their recommendation or make a recommendation yet.
Okay. All right. So we don't know yet the adjustments where they will be making.
That's correct.
Yes,
So, I'm sorry, just to be clear, no matter what the school board recommends, what you put in the warrant is the warrant.
That's correct.
So 4.25 is in the warrant at this point.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So they could recommend, but that goes through the whole town meeting process. Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
So can I ask
yes.
to David's, right? So school committee, hypothetical, right? Learning. So if schools committee stays on whatever they are recommending, goes to town meeting, and if this article passes, then school committee will adjust, or if town committee shoots that down, what does that mean? Like school budget gets approved? Like how does that work?
So the motion that is going to be considered by this committee is based upon my recommendation. And you don't have to approve that. You could say no, that you don't agree, and you could put some language in there about what your concerns are. You could, agree with my recommendation, but the way that our charter / special acts lays it out, it's the town manager presents a budget, and then the finance committee makes recommendations to town meeting. Now, any town meeting member would have the ability to offer a substitute motion if they felt that the school should be funded at the level that the school committee is recommending. They would have to identify a revenue source to do that, and then it would be debated by town meeting.
Thank you.
Any additional?
No,
I just had one comment, because in Boston right now, you've still got pending additional school aid, which was Chapter 70, and normally Chapter 70 would go to the schools on themselves. So if this budget stays the way it is with the school committee maxed out, it would be an additional $500,000 coming forward approximately in Chapter 70. So that means that theoretically, that Chapter 70 money could stay in the town budget aspect.
So it would be available for appropriation in the fall, I guess is what I would say. So the budget could be reconsidered if we wanted to use those funds in the fall.
So it have to be reconsidered, because we don't know whether it's gonna
Correct.
be approved or not approved in,
So that, and I'm not saying that it's not, my understanding from the folks that I talked to in Boston and the MMA think it's a strong likelihood that the state legislature will recommend an amount for minimum aid districts, which we are greater than the budget, or than the governor did, which was $75 per pupil. Last year it was $150 per pupil, which was the highest ever. So I'm not sure it's going to be at the 150 level, but I think a lot of people think it'll be greater than what the governor does. What we have done is we normally use the governor's budget, as most of you know, right? We use the governor's budget for fiscal projection 1 because it's pretty solid, and it normally does represent a floor in the state's budgeting process. And then we kind of hold steady, knowing that in October we have a special town meeting, and we'll look at what additional revenues that we have. That could be, new growth and state aid and other changes. What are the charges and assessments that happen on the backside of the cherry sheet, and really have final numbers before we make any other adjustments on the revenue model.
really what I was trying to bring out. Most people just take for granted that chapter 70 is schools.
Yeah,
And it is not. So
Correct.
I just
No.
want to make sure that everybody.
right, so we have to dedicate all chapter 70 to school, but, you know, chapter 70 is about $26 million and our school budget is about, 90, over 90, so
Yeah.
technically all of it is going there and
Yeah.
we're not in jeopardy of not committing all of that to it.
Anytime you have that discussion on, it's the school's money, which it really is not theoretically on there. That's
Right.
all I was
We
trying.
put all of our revenue
Yeah.
together.
Yes, son?
If they do give increased chapter 70, do we even have to spend that, or can we just put that in free cash?
Yeah, you don't have to appropriate it. You'd have to make some adjustment to the revenue model, decrease the amount you're estimating for local receipts or something, because we are gonna receive those funds. You wouldn't let it come in as an overage in state aid. You'd make some other adjustment though. But in
Yeah.
theory, yes, you could.
Yeah.
Additional questions? Being none, there's no public here. We want to go to Article 9.
Article 9 is the solid waste improvement budget. This is our only hybrid utility budget, which provides for solid waste collections. And it is a hybrid because it utilizes both the general tax levy at about 54% this year and program revenue of about 45% this year. So it's a split between those two sources. No changes since your public hearing.
Some changes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Some changes.
Some changes. So after fiscal projection 1, the solid waste and recycling staff did identify some expenditure reductions. So they've identified $138,000 in expenditure reductions, and as a result, they need to raise less revenue. So I think fiscal projection 1 was about an 18% increase. We're looking now at about a 10% increase. So, so just a reduction in expenditures and reduction in revenue needed to be raised to cover that.
So just to be clear, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So that's a 10% increase to the pay-as-you-throw bags instead of the 18% that they proposed?
That is what we will be proposing, yes.
Great, thank you.
Additional questions from the committee? Okay, we'll go to, next article is Article 10.
Article 10 is the sewer operations budget and other capital investments.
Yep, and just some minor changes, which we believe we talked about, that they were identifying some other capital accounts that could be closed out or used, and so fiscal projection 1, I believe, was also a 10% increase. We're proposing a 5% increase. They've identified some other accounts that they can use towards their capital, so they needed about $500,000 less in their capital improvement plan.
Questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like twice now, 2 in a row. Hopefully it goes all 10 or however many are left. But why are they finding this money now and not in fiscal projection 1? I mean, is there something we can do going forward to try to get that known up front, everything that's available?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of just, reviewing older accounts and making sure that it's not being used for anything else, and getting better quotes and estimates from contractors for these capital projects that we're proposing to do.
Yes.
Well, I guess my concern is reviewing older accounts. Shouldn't there be a process every year where every account is reviewed, and we should know or know that this one's gonna be, we're almost done with this one, and put a little note in there that it's probably gonna be open for next year to close out?
Yeah.
I guess I'm just talking policy-wise. I think it would be better, because one thing I have heard from people is they like it when we come up with this money, but then they wonder why we come up with extra money in fiscal, too. They go, were you just trying to tell us how broke you were? Again, there's a transparency issue that people keep saying. I don't know that it's a real issue. I don't think it is, but I hear it all the time. And then these are the things that I think, start the rumor mill.
Yeah, no, and I understand and appreciate that, and in an ideal world, I agree and certainly understand the concern, and we want to get it right as soon as possible and let folks know. It is really the complexity of everyone having the time across all departments throughout the budget process to, like, whenever, so sewer may be ahead of all of us on this and identifying the accounts, and then it's got to go, to accounting for verification, what holds do we have. It is an iterative process as we're going through this $200 million or so worth of expenditures. And again, I'm in complete agreement with you, Dennis, that, I'd love to have this sooner, but
Maybe
we
use
just
for
work
AI
till the
going
final minute to get the best number we can before we bring it to town meeting.
Any additional questions? Okay, we'll go to Article 11. This is the water.
So this is the operating budget for the water department. We are funding pretty much similar to where we were in fiscal year 26. I don't know if there's any changes
No
you want to
changes.
highlight.
Questions? Okay, the next is stormwater, Article 12.
No changes from fiscal projection one.
Questions? Okay, the next article will be Article 22. And that will,
So Article 22 is the capital improvement plan, and there are some changes that we would like to highlight for you. Starting with what's on the screen, you can see that we've identified a number of accounts to close out, and this was part of our original proposal to be closing funds out when we went through fiscal projection one. So as we look at this budget, we're staying around what we have been over the course of the past 3 to 5 years of dedicating about $2 million in free cash to the capital improvement plan. The plan totals $2,852,000 this year, and the balance of between the $2 million in free cash is funds that we're closing out from other capital improvement projects in previous years. There are a couple things that have been modified and adjusted, and I'll kind of start from the bottom up and on this list and talk to you about them, and then Alex will fix everything that I miss. So we're adding an investment of $60,000 because of a failure of some of the AV equipment that's used to broadcast public meetings in this room and in this building. So it's a $60,000 investment. We are adding an additional $500,000 in roadway improvements to augment the amount of work that we're able to do this year, bringing the total to about $2.3 million of investment, so 1.8 from Chapter 90 and 500,000 from free cash. We've adjusted the amount of funds that we need for the town hall campus driveway reconfiguration. We still have about $180,000 left over from the building project that we're dedicating to this, and that will zero that account out. And then what other changes?
Parks maintenance. We added those two at the
The
top.
2 parks maintenance investments of the utility tractor of $40,000 and the stand-up leaf blower of $15,000 for their equipment fleet.
questions from the committee?
I had one question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kevin, do you know, as far as the roadway improvements are concerned, the additional 500K, how many extra miles we would be able to cover on that of roads in the town?
So what we're doing is we're issuing ad alternate to our bid process that we think could get us Keys House Road as a full depth reclamation.
And there was one other in that neighborhood, I can't recall. But there were two in that neighborhood that were full depth reclamation, and they're significant length. Keys House is a pretty long road.
Okay.
So, I don't know the actual distance, but we can find that out for you.
I have the list.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so The street paving list is Oak Street, Maple to Route 9, Alice Avenue, Ruthin Circle, Harrington Ave from the Plaza to Old Mill, Walnut Street from Route 9 to Main Circle, Prospect Street from North Street to Dartmoor, Paxton Lane, Keys House Road, and then there are 3 bid ad alternates, Round Table Road, Sword Street, and Guinevere Circle, and the total length is 4.8 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question. When they do Prospect Street, is there any chance of maybe widening it or putting a sidewalk in? Because I know there's a lot of people that walk to school down that street, and
So there's a sidewalk within the property of the new cemetery. But we don't intend to widen any other part of it because I think we're pretty much at the right-of-way width right now, and we'd have to do property takings. So that's not in the plan.
Yes,
So I see you added those. Did you take anything out of the first one?
The solid waste and recycling vehicle has come out.
Okay, thank you.
go ahead.
One question, and it could be just my understanding. I believe for library, I thought it was funded 50% through some grant for the public desktop and stuff printers.
A grant to cover that?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? I don't think so, no. I mean, they use state aid for some of their expenses to augment their operating budget. Some of their personnel are partially funded. I'm not sure if that's what it was.
Yeah, question, Gene.
Yes.
I was just thinking, reflecting back on the roadways, if I recall during the public hearings, there was some issues like, it was like the hot box they use to like fill potholes and stuff around town. There was some, I forget if it was the truck or, were we able to correct some of those issues in the short term? Not that,
So we have 2 hot box units.
Mhm.
One of them was in a truck and the truck transmission failed.
That's right, okay.
Right, so the food division and working with highway have moved around, some equipment to other trucks. And then I'm told on Monday, the second truck and the second hot box will be on the street. So it took some time for that work, but
Yeah,
they were able to change from one truck to another truck essentially.
and I'd assume it's an all-out assault on everything from the winter.
Yeah, a little bit.
Thank you.
I just had a couple of comments. Number one was on the police. They seem to get every item that was on the original list, which was a big chunk. They've got a total now of over 400,000.
Didn't get the vote.
Yeah, so their total requests, everything they asked for was $685,000, and what was funded is
The 404,000 right now they did get on there. So, just a comment. I was surprised to, see the motorcycle trailer, for instance, in there, and the tasers and the body cameras. I thought we were fully equipped with those things before.
this will be the final year.
Yeah.
of
Just the
those
final year?
requests. Yes.
Okay. And the other thing I was a little concerned on reconfiguration of the driveway, and that's out front on there. Is that gonna be the total cost of design? You're gonna do the design in-house?
Yep.
And then reconfigure it over to the right or the left?
So they're to the right.
To the
If you're
right.
driving down past the town hall, you'll take a dog leg out to the right and then come back to where the road.
So we're gonna lose some of the parking lot?
No, we're not gonna lose any parking spaces. No, parking spaces. So if you drive out there now, it's very similar to the way we have it set up with the barriers, but much smoother, not hard left, hard right, hard right, hard left. But there's no intention of losing any parking spaces.
Okay. All right, that's.
Sorry, so this is in response to the incident we did, okay.
Gene?
Yes,
So I have two questions. One, to follow up with what Gene said. There's a standard configuration for what you're doing? I mean, in government, we used it all the time.
Yep.
Are you using that? When you say you're doing it in-house, you're having people that use the mil specs?
Yeah, so actually our new town engineer used to design roadways and entrances for military bases.
So he's not
we got-
reinventing it and then
Yeah.
finding out you can't move? Okay, great.
We got the guy.
Okay, good. And the other thing is the $300,000 for the various repairs to the HVAC. What buildings are those?
So the biggest cost in there is for Spring Street School. Similar to the library, that system was put in about the same time, and that building is fully heat pumped, not just one section of it. And we had a unit fail on that building. The issue with that building is we cannot just replace the unit because of the new style, well, it's not Freon anymore, but the new style refrigerant isn't compatible with the rest of the system. Whereas and it's much larger than what's at the library. So the library is one unit and a few offshoots of that. This is, we have to replace multiple units just because of the one fail.
So it's all Spring Street?
Not all of Spring Street, but the
Vast majority.
Very large part of Spring Street School.
Because it's almost like we need a fund just for HVAC, because they're very expensive.
Well, so not every penny of the $300,000 is spoken for. We are requesting, there's more than just Spring Street, and we'll note that in the town meeting book.
Fire headquarters.
Fire headquarters.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you're talking about, this building needs it, and we talked about some other buildings on the list that needed it, so is there any thought of having, I don't know, every year doing them? Because it seems like once they fail, then, obviously the library failing is a big problem. Schools failing is a big problem, and anywhere it's a big problem. So do we have any, I'm sure you have some sort of plan to look at these and notice that they're all kind of breaking at a certain time?
Yeah, we are planning for that. A building like this, unfortunately, would be $2 million or so. So we'd have to take a more dedicated look at that once we think about where the long-term capital investments are going to be made.
Yes. I just had one question going back to the police cruisers. Is there like a 5 cruisers a year or 6 cruisers a year? Is that basically where we're at
That's what
now?
it is. Yep, 5.
5?
Yeah.
So how long does it take to get the whole fleet upgraded? Is that like, I guess 5, is that like 8 years?
Roughly, do you know how many cruisers?
Yeah, I
we
can-
have? I think
I
we have
can
40,
look.
40, so not that many. We can get you that number.
Yeah, I was just curious if we're getting 8 years use out of these cruisers.
I don't think so.
I don't think we're getting here, though.
I would say we probably have about 3 years of life in a cruiser. So probably around 27 to 30 total vehicles in the fleet.
No other questions? We'll go to 23. Capital improvement, sewer, and article closeouts.
Yep, so these are the major sewer investments. Let's see it on this. The plan is to make pump station improvements and add funds to our ongoing initiative to remove inflow and infiltration. And that is basically keeping stormwater out of the sewer system, so we're not paying to treat it and keep the system tight. So that's an ongoing initiative. The pump station improvements for the year include work at the Harvey Place pump station, which is near Lake Quinsigamon by the old Buca de Beppo property. So that's a complete overhaul and replacement of that entire system.
Any questions?
Well, it's not fully related, but you mentioned the old, I call it Equades, but building. What has happened to that? We're going with that?
Rep Kane is the main person that continues to try to put pressure on the property owner, which is GN Properties out of Rhode Island.
Is there some way we can do an eminent domain or something on it because they're not maintaining it?
They pay their taxes, but Yeah, I mean, we can look at other alternatives. I don't think we could take it by eminent domain, but
Well, are we charging them full taxes as if it was a running full business? Because
Well, we
we
can
have
only
the
char-
opportunity to do that.
we can only assess the value that's there, unfortunately.
Okay.
No other questions? We'll go to Article 24, stormwater.
Yeah, so this is a $500,000 annual investment that we're making in drainage improvements throughout the town, detention basin maintenance and reclamation towards our MS4 permit.
Any questions? If not, I mentioned at the last hearing, I'm wondering if it's the point with these retention ponds and that we get somebody to subcontract and take care of this. I don't think we can keep up with it, and they seem to be growing at extremely high rates. There's a few of them that look pretty neat, but most of them look like they're disappearing on there.
So we are bringing the contractors in to do the initial clearing of the ones that are completely overgrown with mature trees and things like that, and then the day-to-day maintenance, we were doing it ourselves, but agree as more of them become in regular maintenance mode, I don't think we're gonna be able to keep up, so it is something that we'll have to pursue.
Next article is 25.
So this is the water capital improvement plan for the year, so making improvements to our SCADA system, improvements in our home farm well, field replacement, and altitude valve at Browning Tank Road to maintain levels within that and talk to the SCADA system, so a total of $1,263,000. These funds and these projects are in addition to the annual money that we expend that was part of the borrowing authorization in 2022. So we'll actually be borrowing the final amount of money, which is about $3.6 million that was authorized this coming spring, maybe in May. And we'll use those funds to start our town-wide water meter replacement program. So we're replacing all water meters and installing the new meters throughout town over the course of really the next 30 months.
Questions? Yes, David.
So it says a transfer 9191, but it also said that under Article 23, are you splitting the funds equally?
So that was a vehicle that I believe the total cost was split 50-50 between water and sewer.
Okay, so they're just
So-
exactly the same numbers being transferred, just being split and transferred.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? If it's okay with the committee, I'd like to proceed with some of the articles from Thursday so we could give us more time to debate on Thursday itself. So can you?
Yeah, can we, if we publish this that we're talking about them Thursday, can we talk about them tonight?
Talk about what?
Are we,
Yes.
we can.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna talk about the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the way the agenda was posted, this wasn't provided.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So I guess we'd go first to Article 1. And that's basically the reports, town reports.
Yeah, so we do anticipate the high school
High school.
building committee giving a report.
And municipal facilities optimization.
I'd just ask one additional request. I think maybe Selco should give us a little update on what's going on. I think we turned over that land to Selco to
Yep.
go ahead with a new facility, and now there's equipment moving around down there, and stakes up, and trucks there, and that's
Yep.
just a brief update. I don't think it has to be anything formal, but just kind of an up-to-date.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, can we get an update on the streaming service, the cables, the new cable service, because I don't think it's fully rolled out yet, and it's definitely not working. The streaming service they have, are they thinking about replacing it?
At town meeting, or?
Just a report either here or at town meeting. Town meeting might be a good place because you know, there'd be a lot of town meeting members there to hear it as well.
Okay.
Next article would be Article 2.
This is the Wright and Harlow Trust member appointment.
Any questions or comments? Next article is Article 3.
Just the payment of prior year bills, which requires town meetings approval, but we do not have any identified at this point in time.
So this is the one we turned down.
Correct.
Go to Article 4, which the operational budget adjustments.
Yeah, so this would be any adjustments that we need to make to the current fiscal year that ends
Yep.
on June 30th. No recommendations at this time.
Do you anticipate any? None.
You what?
Anticipate any?
Yep, okay. And we'll go to Article 6.
This is receiving funding from the cable TV / streaming division of Selco to lower the tax rate. It's $274,380.
Questions? Article 7.
It's an identical article in the amount of $502,385 from the electric division of Selco to lower the tax rate.
We'll go to Article 8.
And then similarly, we use free cash to offset cost and lower the tax rate across the operating expenditures in the amount of $759,325.
Okay, the next,
Quick question. So, well, how much is that lowering the individual tax bill?
So across the three, which totals, yes, I can tell you. 1 second.
I bring it up because I think it's important to know that we do ask for a lot in the budgets, but where we can, we do give some back. So, you know, in essence, my tax rate is going down because of this.
between the three.
So, it's about $1.5 million in total, which means it's equivalent to about $110 million in total assessed value. If you looked at it, one other quick way, sorry. It's the equivalent of about 188 single-family homes tax bill contributions in the community.
Yes, sir.
So Kevin, how do you actually come up with this amount? You determine basically this is the amount of tax rate you want to decrease, and that's why how you come up with this number, or
So
how is it calculated?
the free cash amount stays relatively stable each and every year. The Selco amount is based upon the value of their property that they have in town, but we only update it every few years. So basically, Selco is paying their tax bill as if we had a private utility provider in town in good faith to the community. So theirs is based on the value of their real property, and the free cash is just is an estimate or longstanding amount.
An estimate based on any parameter, or
No, it's more of a traditional amount that we use versus trying to get to a specific tax rate.
thank you.
Additional questions? We go to the next article is Article 13, operating budget,
So
Ag Enterprise.
these are funds that we receive from the franchise fee that's assessed on the cable streaming bills. and it goes to Selco, and then Selco transfers it to the town, and then we transfer it to Shrewsbury Media Connection for their operations. So this is a number that continues to decline year over year because of fewer and fewer people subscribing to the services.
Questions? If not, we'll go to Article 14.
So Article 14, the town has accepted a local option where we pay the out-of-pocket medical expenses of disabled, retired police, and firefighters. So this year, we are anticipating $6,000 that we will pay out for those expenses. This is on a reimbursement basis, so they supply receipts to us and then we reimburse them.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
Is this for retired that live in town or retired and living anywhere?
Living anywhere.
Okay.
And actually, they're not expenses, they're actually co-payments, aren't they?
Yeah, whatever they're out of pocket,
It's-
you know, if they're
it's not direct
responsible for
cash.
something, yeah, we reimburse them.
You have,
I was just curious how that compares to prior years, or do we just estimate $6,000 every year and then we have to adjust?
So the accounting office actually handles, like providing this estimate by reaching out to the people that are eligible, and, it is trending down over previous years.
Alan, did you have a question? Oh. Okay, the next is Article 15, Insurance Trust Accounts.
So this insurance trust account is used to pay for some of our variable deductibles that spread over across years, like our 111F out-of-pocket costs that we have. So we have a $45,000 annual deductible for police and fire injuries for the 111F program. And sometimes that will take us some time as injuries, kind of are prolonged and medical treatments are prolonged. It may go into multiple years. So this gives us flexibility and helps us keep the general insurance budget more stable, so we can draw down on this account over time.
Questions? If not, we'll go to Article 16.
This is a proposal to transfer $600,000 from free cash into the general stabilization account. The general stabilization account is our deepest emergency savings account that we have for the town, and this would take it to almost 5.5% of the budget that we're proposing.
Questions from the committee? Yes.
So is that what we try to benchmark always, 5.5?
Our benchmark is 5%, or the policy level is 5% that we target, so this would get us a little bit over that.
Next is Article 17.
So this is our statutory requirement. The town meeting is obligated to set maximum expenditure limits for certain types of revolving accounts that we have. So we have a transportation revolving account fund that covers cost of ride services and receives funds for those, and then funds that we receive for the Donahue Rowing Center. The funds are invested back into the associated program, so pay for the cost of those transportation and then the maintenance of the rowing center. So it's establishing a maximum expenditure that we can have from those accounts in a single year.
Yes.
Just a quick question. How does this compare to previous years? Is this the same every year?
It's not the same every year. It's the same as I believe the last 2 years. There was one year where the Donahue Rowing Center maximum was around $400,000 due to some anticipated work that needed to be done.
Okay, so this is kind of in conversation with those that are managing the resolving fund and what they think they need. Okay.
I just had one question. If we were to have a remodeling, renovation, would that become a separate article for the Donahue Rowing Center, or how?
It wouldn't have to. It could, just be funded using, those funds don't need to be appropriated, but we would likely have to come back, assuming we had enough money in the trust fund, which,
But I'm sure if we get into one of these projects in the future, it's gonna exceed 250,000 very quickly because,
And it's gonna exceed the amount of money we have in the trust fund, so we'll need some other appropriation that we'd have to ask for.
Yeah. Any additional questions? If not, we'll go on to the next article, which is Article 18.
So this is where we accept funds that the state provides through Chapter 90 that we're allowed to use for roadway improvements. So we accept any and all funds that the state wants to give us through Chapter 90, and we write this motion broadly because the amount does vary, and we have certain incidents or bad winters, sometimes they offer supplemental budgets, so this allows us to take in all of those funds and expend them for that purpose.
Are we behind in our present year as far as plowing and things go?
Yeah, so I mean, if you look year over year, we've expended substantially more funds within the operating budget. We actually exceeded the amount of money that's sort of earmarked in highway by about $160,000, but we're able to manage that within the bottom line of the budget itself. We wouldn't need a reserve fund transfer.
That's good news. Yeah.
And then today only, I heard the news governor has asked for federal aid. Are we in that community at all?
We're not. Yeah. Mainly in Norfolk and Sussex County. That
That got hammered
yeah,
by the.
where the 30, you have to be over like 32 inches of snow to get the federal designation.
Okay, the next article
Sorry,
is.
just
oh,
one follow-up question. And this was just reflecting back to the extra, like, 500,000 we were recommending for capital. So the total streets you said and listed out and the total mileage, that was both Chapter 90 and that extra? Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? If not, we'll go to 19.
So Article 19 is the transfer of 18,000 from the sale of cemetery lots to the perpetual care fund that we use to maintain the cemetery in perpetuity. So this, is a traditional article amount, but in future years, as we sell and move into the new cemetery, we'll likely be making some changes and having more revenue that we would transfer.
I just have a couple quick questions in reference to the cemetery. Is it all gonna be incorporated into one, the two different cemeteries we have, number one? And the second question is, once that is completed, will we start selling plots in advance again?
The latter is our recommendation, and we'll have to go to the Parks and Cemetery Commission, and I think that they will do that. We're working on a business plan for them right now to be able to make that recommendation to them. The new portion of the cemetery will have a separate name, but it'll be managed cohesively through one staff and one contracted entity. But it'll likely just be named different, so it's easier for identification for people, wanting to visit and things like that.
So basically, what I was thinking, the trust funds would be available for both,
It'll be managed, as a single.
as one.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the next one is Article 20, funding for lakes, ponds, and waterways.
So this is a proposed use of $25,000 in free cash to do water maintenance activities. The largest activity that we do is invasive weed management within the Lake Quinsigamon Basin, including Lake Quinsigamon itself, of course, and the other Grafton and the city of Worcester also contribute to those funds. But we also do activities in, skip the name, not Jordan Pond, but the
Soul Pond.
Soul Pond. Thank you, Gene.
Any questions, yes?
So, can this qualify for one of those CPA activity, as part of recreation or open space?
I think I think if I remember, and don't quote me on this, but I think if I remember some of the Lake Commission things, this is more of a yearly ongoing expense to maintain the weeds, but there was some discussion now that Worcester is a CPC community and Grafton and we are. They were trying to look for proposals that could pull from all three communities to improve the lake, but I haven't heard anything since then.
Just a thought, I mean,
Sure.
Additional questions? If not, we'll go to Article 33.
So this is to fund, or this is to establish a fire apparatus replacement fund. This will be a special purpose stabilization fund under Chapter 40, Section 5B, which will work the same way that like our special purpose override stabilization fund works. And that will, when we add funds to it, it'll be a simple majority vote. When we remove it, it will require 2/3 vote. And it will only be allowed to be used for fire apparatus replacement. So because the state has this provision of special purpose override stabilization funds, when we funded a fire apparatus replacement through the general capital improvement plan last year, it got flagged. And they said we have to go through this process if we want to do that in future years, which I understand because we have to go back to town meeting to actually spend those dollars and get them to appropriate it for a specific purpose when we spend it.
So the funding is in place.
No, we ended up spending that money last year on the ambulance, so we're gonna put funds in it in Article 34, the next one.
Okay, so we used the dollars we appropriated that we were originally gonna start that fund with. Transfer.
On the ambulance, right?
Any questions?
Sorry, only fire, or this could be used for ambulance in the future, or?
We'll use ambulance fees for ambulance
Okay,
in the
fair
future,
enough.
so this would just be fire, correct?
Any additional questions? If not-
But,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Gene, but the wording does say ambulances.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, we can establish it, I apologize, yeah, as long as town meeting agrees to that broad of a definition, there's no harm in that, yeah.
Should the name of the fund be changed then? Just so that it's not misleading.
Yeah, we
We're
can.
gonna have firefighters in those ambulances since it'll be both, so I think it still fits.
and then we'll go to Article 34 if there's no additional questions.
So this is just placing funds into that new account that we established, $475,000, which represents basically 2 years of contributions that we were planning when we established the account last year.
So this one will be just for the fire. Okay.
that also says ambulance.
Yeah, it says the ambulance.
That's it.
So 34 also says.
Yes.
It goes into the account that could be used.
Yes.
Oh, good, we made some progress there. Well, then I guess we can go back to the original agenda and,
Gene, did we talk
We
about
got
Article
big one
21?
more.
21?
21?
No, that's, we don't have someone.
Oh.
So, Article 21 was
Oh.
skipped because we'll have a guest at the beginning of your next meeting.
oh, yeah, so that was my fault. We're gonna have a guest speaker on Thursday. He was gonna be number one. We actually skipped over him.
So that's the only article we have for the next week?
Yeah, it's the only article we haven't discussed so far.
Okay.
And we'll deliberate and debate on the dollar factor itself, but I think we need to go back to the agenda.
Are we quote unquote suspending the
Pausing.
public?
Continuing.
Continuing.
Continue the public hearing?
Well, we can suspend and continue it to next week if you wanna do that first. We're just gonna be talking about the Finance Committee's report to town meeting, which is still part of it, but we can suspend the public hearing.
It's your decision.
Yeah. I'll take a vote to suspend the public hearing until next week.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we'll go back to the agenda and we'll discuss the Finance Committee's report. The annual report we give to town meeting and the residents of the town. It's, should people have a chance to look at it, the outline, comments? Would like to have added to it, subtracted?
I think the opening about the finance committee, what we've talked about before, that we may not all agree, I think that captured it pretty well. I'm okay with that wording.
I would just like to add in the second paragraph of that particular section, it's not only the police department, but there were other
So,
positions as well.
so that is actually the exact report from last year.
That's
I
right.
did not update it.
Some things don't change.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't want to
No.
make any assumptions, so that,
No,
this
I'm-
section is to be updated by
Yep.
committee.
Yeah, I don't think we need to update it, I guess is what I'm saying. Except maybe add the fire.
Alright, there was also DPW concerns as well.
Inspection.
Yeah.
Well, we got until next week, so we can submit
Yeah.
comments to Alex, and we'll take it from there. On there. If not, we'll move on to,
Did have one comment
yeah,
on the superintendent's and the school thing. Did everyone read the memo that Joe Sawyer just sent out? Okay.
yeah, I believe everybody did. You're talking email?
The email.
Yes.
And, yeah, I think that's something we should discuss at some point.
Yeah.
Just discuss that, and, because there's a lot of information in there that may clear up the accusations brought up a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So maybe if we could, I probably should have done this on the other business, but I'd like to put that on the agenda.
For next week?
Yep.
Do you want to discuss it right now?
No, I think next week.
Other comments?
Sorry, just wanna clarify, cause there's two kind of highlighted sections in the prefix that are to be updated. So really the first page is what you would want our comments on from the finance committee, and the other section to be updated, that would be by the conversation with the school committee after they have their discussions. Am I interpreting that correctly?
You could have
On
a
page
comment.
two to page 3, Alex.
Yep.
You could have comments on all the pages if you like.
Fair enough, but
Yeah, I mean, historically that, this section has come from the school's budget proposal.
So will we have that before next week's hearing?
If you get,
Their comment?
if you have comments and you get them into Alex quick enough, you'll have it for next week.
Well, I think he's asking
no,
from
the
the,
schools.
there's a
Oh,
piece from the schools, Gene,
Oh, oh.
that, will we have it before we connect next Thursday, is the question.
That I-
Next
Not-
Wednesday is their meeting.
So the answer is probably no.
Well, they don't write this section, they normally write this section for the committee,
This section comes from their budget.
their budget book.
Okay. So it's cut and paste from their budget. So if it's different from what the town manager, how do we,
That's why it's highlighted.
okay. And just for a point of clarity, like, I know if we're giving comments to you, some are gonna be the same, some are not. Would it make sense at some point you send the comments back out to us? So we can say like, oh, okay, that way we're not all hitting you with the same thing? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to receive all the
Yeah.
comments, and I think we did something similar last year where they were all kind of just laid out in the document, and then you all talked amongst yourselves to determine how you wanted it to be formatted in the actual report.
just if I can refresh my memory, I think last year we made comments and then asked that the chair kind of determine the final. Is that how it went? If there was anything that needed to be
We
resolved?
kind of discussed it. I'm not sure we even,
No, but like to set the final language in with Alex, is that what we did? Do you remember?
I think by the time you went to vote on it, it was pretty final, like
Okay.
kind of gotten
Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
section by the meeting where you voted on it.
Okay, got it.
Any other comments?
Do we want to put a deadline by which we should get our comments to Alex so that she has time to coalesce it? Because we just have 1 week for the next meeting.
I would think, to be fair to Alex, is if we can do it between now and Monday the latest,
Right, Monday.
comments
That's reasonable, yeah.
together, and
Okay.
Yeah,
Does that work
make
for you,
sure
Alex?
You get a draft at least.
you get a
by
draft,
Tuesday.
and then we can finalize it or tweak it here at
Yeah.
the meeting. So we're gonna have some, I hope have some spare time, because we made some pretty good progress tonight on the items on there, so.
all we're gonna have to do is one article and then just vote.
Well, deliberate and then
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah. Right, yeah, on there. Well, if there's anything else, then we'll just review the schedule, meeting schedule, and that'll be, the next one will be Thursday, April the 16th. Do we want to put a time on it? Is the time
It is scheduled for 6 p.m.
6 PM? Okay. And then we have May the 18th, the annual town meeting. And May the 19th, a continuance of the annual town meeting if needed. And then our next regular meeting will be Thursday, June the 18th, 2026. Is there any other business we need to discuss?
Real quick question.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be using the new electronic voting at this town meeting? This will be the first time.
Yeah, so it's currently we've had training for a group of staff members, and we've tested it. We'll be testing it on site next week or 2 weeks from now, and yeah, so we're well on our way.
Have we tested it with few town meeting members?
That will happen at pre-town meeting. So everyone will have the opportunity at pre-town meeting to come and test. That'll be on Wednesday
Wednesday, yes.
of the week before town meeting. And then there'll be some test questions at the beginning of town meeting for those who were in attendance, just to get comfortable.
So that's
So-
gonna be the only training time,
Yeah.
is gonna be the pre-town meeting.
Yep. I can promise you, it's a device that is about a quarter the size of my cell phone, and there's 2 buttons, and one's yes and one's no.
Can you change if you hit the wrong button?
Yeah.
You have.
And so,
And
yeah,
it says okay.
yeah,
After you give, like after a second, it says okay to
yeah,
your choice.
yeah.
And how are you gonna handle people
Those with
not
fat
taking
fingers.
them home?
They're gonna be assigned, so whenever you check in, you'll check in at the table by name, and then you'll go to the electronic voting device table, and you'll give them your name, and, it will be pre-numbered, so you might be number 32, and they'll hand that to you, and if we don't have 32 when you go home, we'll be out.
That means
Get to see the
you're
new
gonna have a line coming in, and then you're gonna have a line going out.
Well, we're gonna try to be kind to you all and not check you out. You'll just drop them in a box, and we will collect phone numbers just in case someone does stick it in their pocket. We'll just call you and get it back, or lean your house.
We have a team ready to show up at your house to get that. So.
Thank you.
Actually, they have a reverse buzzer, so we can take it home. It'll go off between, midnight and 7 a.m. about 100 times.
And the only other thing on our agenda is we received an email from Hannah Kane. Was there any questions, debate on that? There was a supplement budget to the town. If not, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, and good
Thank you.
night.